Hey, how's it going, everybody? Welcome back to the Corner Talks podcast. I have a friend here, talented makeup artist from Quebec City, Julianne Trudel. How are you?
Good, good. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. It's a pleasure. We finally face to face connected. We've been keeping in touch through Instagram. We have our film pages. We've been praising each other's works and giving each other, positive remarks, pushing us to keep going. How's everything been going during this pandemic for you? How have you been coping?
It's been good. It sure is more difficult to work on set these days. Like I graduated like a month ago, so I'm still new to like this kind of environment. And like I most of COVID, like I was in school, so I didn't really see the impact that it had on the industry. But now that I'm trying to look up for jobs and like try to connect with people, like yeah, I see it more. But I got like I know I gotta stay positive and just like I know that these are hard times for everybody, and I just gotta keep going.
Yeah, for sure. And that's something that you kept reminding me too when we were first connecting. You were very uh, nice to me that way, saying things like, that everyone's going through it. You're not alone, including yourself, right? You're an artist, so I can relate to that. And the fact that you were telling me before the podcast, you moved all the way from Quebec City to Toronto in the middle of a pandemic, just speaks to your bravery and your commitment to the craft. That's something very admirable. Uh, Walk us through that. Like, how was that experience? Just traveling from Quebec City to Toronto. What made you go for that?
Um, there wasn't any like makeup school in Quebec that were that advanced on prosthetics and graphic
Mm.
design and film, and I always wanted to be like amongst the best and on top and like trying to like be um as like go as far as I can in my career. So I guess that's why. Um and yeah, at first I wanted to go to LA and like because that was when I first like learned that there was a school there called makeup design and
Nice.
I had a brochure of that school and it was like, oh my god, I want to do that as a living, and then I just looked for other options closer, and Toronto just came up.
Came
Yeah,
to
so
came to mind. Well,
you,
you came
yeah,
to a great city. Yeah, it's
yeah.
become an entertainment hub. I was the same way when I first got into film, or was figuring out my career path back in my late teens. I was like, oh, Los Angeles, that's the place to be. You have to go there. Everybody's telling you you have to go there. And as you get older, you mature too, and you realize, especially with social media, there's other ways you can reach your path. I'm not completely getting Los Angeles out of the picture, but for me, it's
Mhm.
just taking advantage of the resources we have and the people that you connect with, right? There's so many talented people that you come across in this big city. Toronto has been on the map for the entertainment industry, and there's so much production happening, and it doesn't even have to be big production, even independent films. So I think it's really possible to make your dreams happen from any city at this standpoint with regarding social media, and especially Toronto. So that's kind of like how I see it. And I think that's really smart of you. You come to Toronto, you're within Canada as well. So it's not too much of a shift.
Yeah.
And, because I know Los Angeles is very expensive with their rent. Toronto, I'm sure is expensive, but Los Angeles is like crazy amounts. Someone was telling me like $8,000 a month. Um, so that's just like, because it speaks to how competitive the industry is, right?
Yeah, it is. And yeah, one of the reasons too, when I first told my parents that I want to do makeup and I wanted to move, and I get told them about like that's going in LA, I was like, they were like, okay, first you need a visa, second that's gonna be expensive, that's in
Yeah.
US dollars, and that's pretty far away for you to move when you're 15, 16, because that's when I first told them I wanted to do
Yeah, yeah, for
makeup.
sure. Right. Yeah. No,
Um,
that,
yeah.
yeah. They make a very good point. That's what came to mind too, right? Because again, had that experience where I was trying to move. I knew some connections there, and tried to see if I could, figure out a way, find work. Just it didn't pan out the way I wanted. But even if I did want to go there, it's very complicated. You need a visa, you need proof of employment, you need to be working consistently for at least a year, I believe. I'm not too sure about all that, but I know it's not just you show up. because
no,
I'm not an American citizen, and I'm sure you're not, right?
no.
So yeah, so that's what I mean by, I guess, the work has to speak for itself, and you have to use it as a way to get there eventually, and to realize you have time, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, that's just a big thing. Before we go any further, I do want to know, what was it about makeup art and design that was something that you were so passionate about? That's something you wanted to pursue, as opposed to anything like directors, actors, being a producer, a writer.
Um, the reasons why I wanted to go into makeup and why I'm doing it now are pretty different.
Right.
I always was interested in having a career with like an artistic side. Like I first wanted to be an interior designer, so like designing spaces and
Oh, okay, cool.
houses and stuff. Yeah, and I've been working in a beauty boutique since I was 13, so I was aware of like all the skincare, the environment, and the makeup
Right.
like it industry, you know. And then I got this brochure, as I was saying, of makeup designer, and I was like, that's what I want to do. It was like an instinct for me. I didn't have any more questions. It was all clear in my head. So yeah, I I've been doing makeup a bit on myself at that time, and it was like I like the colors, the textures, and just the fact of like working on a human body is pretty like awesome. And
Yeah, yeah.
like yeah, you, like you do your art and then you took photos, and like it stays in time through those photos, those this medium, and then you can just wash it up and start all over again. So that's what got me into makeup. And then why I'm doing it now, like especially like in the film and TV industry, is more like creating an illusions and like an illusion of bruises or cuts or like sickness, and telling a story and support it through that. So yeah, so it all goes back to storytelling and like power of it, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. Well, falling in
Yeah.
love with the art form itself, like the basic
Hmm.
arts you're saying of, the physique of the human body, and the
Yeah.
the application of the makeup, and really just going back to, yeah, the essence of the art form, right? About like how
Yeah.
it kind of expresses your imagination. Because I've seen your work, um, so far, and again, I've never, like, I've come in contact, and I'm obviously aware of makeup artistry, but to actually see it, someone at like a level, especially like yourself, like you just graduated, um, it's quite remarkable, because some of the stuff is really striking. You have the bruises, you have cuts, you have burn marks, and there's even ones where there's like fantastical creatures, right?
Yeah.
Like these mythical creatures. Like there's a one with like I don't know if it's a dragon or like some kind of blue mask with big
Yeah,
teeth.
like
Yeah.
yeah, it's more like of a snow queen or something.
Oh, Snow Queen.
Oh
Okay,
yeah,
yeah.
that was like yeah. When I designed that, I was just back from Quebec City. I was like,
Right, right.
it was so cold in January, so I was like, yeah, I gotta do like something snow related.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Well, it definitely got some kind of like villainous, malevolent vibe, and I think that's what you were going for, and that's what
Yeah,
matters, right? The worst is when an artist says, "It's supposed to look like a princess," and it's like,
yeah, no,
but
it
no,
isn't.
no, you agree. Yeah, okay, perfect. You agree
Yeah,
that, yeah, it was getting, because that's the energy I was getting from that photo, and it just popped up, and again, your page is very colorful. It shows like different sides, right? It's not just gruesome, like I said, cuts and bruises. There's another side to you, which is kind of cool. Is there a particular piece of art that you enjoy doing more than the other, or is it kind of all the same?
um, uh, I don't like routine, so I like to change it up a bit.
Nice.
Like I'm more interested in like doing prosthetics and film and television than like doing the more the fashion side of things,
Right.
like doing straight makeups and stuff. Like I still like to do it, but I'm not that interested in doing it as much. Um yeah, I guess like seeing a creature come to life is pretty awesome, and that's what I like. Or just like seeing transformation, like the before and after. Um, I do a makeup like a bruise or like a burn scar or anything. Like yeah, it's
It's all about
I
having
feel
that
like
variety for
yeah,
you. Yeah.
yeah. And so that that takes me out of my comfort zone too, because like doing creature design and prosthetics was not something I was good at first. Like in because I studied visual arts, so and the sculpting classes were not like my best work, and working with clay. So I had like I wasn't sure at first if I was gonna like it, but then working with that and I don't know, getting out of my comfort zone and trying to create something that I'd never done and like seeing the result after, I was just, it's just freeing in a way. Um, yeah, that's what I like doing better.
Yeah,
Doing
yeah.
better.
Well,
Yeah,
I think I know what you're saying too, because seeing the results is always the payoff, right?
yeah,
Like like you kind of try all these different things, but it's the result that makes you feel, uh, excited and something to look forward to. That's what I feel when I do my films or when I write. People will always say like, why? I guess as any artist, someone would question that doesn't really know the field. Why would you be crazy enough to go through it, right? And I think that's,
yeah,
as artists we agree, is it's the end result, it's the payoff, right? It's how we look at that piece of art, we stand back and we say, wow, I created that, I did that. Sometimes it's not always the greatest, but through persistence, you can have something that you're proud of, right? And
yeah,
I think that there's no better feeling with that.
yeah, absolutely. And like I still enjoy the process, don't get me wrong, but
For
like the
sure.
final product, like when I see my creative design, like the show back right there, but like yeah,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
I I'm proud of what I did, and I'm not often that proud of myself, you know. So that was fun.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, for sure. And you've obviously had some practice and you studied this,
yeah,
right? Like for someone like myself, I never went to film school, but you actually went to the College of Makeup Art and Design, right?
yeah,
And
I
that
did.
here in Toronto.
Yeah.
Yeah, perfect. So, why did you attend? Why did you choose to attend a school to study your craft, as opposed to just saying, "I'm gonna teach myself"?
Because I wanted to have all like the knowledge behind that, and it's something to be self-taught and try and like trying to do like film and TV by myself. But if I don't have any products, any knowledge of the products, or if I am just trying to follow what is say online, and sometimes it's not that accurate too. So like okay, do I want to try to do this by myself when I don't know the industries, when I don't know where to start,
Right.
and where I don't have like any techniques? So what that, that's why I wanted to go to school to study makeup, like all the fashion and the hair side. I was kind of aware of what I was like that was similar to what I was doing before. Um, but again, other creature designs and like prosthetics and some TV, even theater, like I learned so much during those times that I don't know if I could have done it by myself, because there's a lot of things that I can't do even at home, like being in a lab and physically doing like working with new materials and mediums and like um yeah, there's so many products and things that I could have never just bought all of those things and practice at home.
Yeah. So you got, because I was interesting you say that. I was speaking to someone that went to film school, as a producer or director on the last podcast, and they were saying they have access to equipment they would never have, and that's something that I kind of envy in a way, because everything being self-taught, you kind of are only have access to things that you can afford.
Yeah,
But you're saying that with school, it allows you to, have access to different arrays of products and designs and things that you would never you would never kind of afford, or maybe again, use to like express or expand your creativity. Is that what you
yeah,
feel like they
no,
helped
yeah,
you?
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. um yeah, and when you're in that kind of environment, you're forced to create and be creative and do something, you know. At home sometimes I cannot feel lost a bit. I'm
Yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah.
okay, I can do those things instead of doing my work. And like just being a creative process and being in a room full of people who are in that same kind of thinking too. Like that's pretty awesome. And just, yeah, meeting new people, and we all come from different backgrounds, so
Yeah.
it wasn't, yeah, so it's interesting to meet those people and to see how they do things too, because even if we study the same in the same program, the same thing, we all work differently.
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, just trying out some new things and seeing the process, and everybody's process is different too. So like I did some projects in school, and like we all had the same like the same instructions, and saying that we could create such like a variety of things with the same
So,
instructions. It's pretty
so
awesome.
what it is like in school, you're giving like a criteria, like an idea
Yeah,
of what you have to do, but everybody's up because everyone's so unique, right? Like everybody's
so we just
imagination is
gotta,
different. Yeah, no, I'm saying everyone's imagination, everyone's
yeah,
interpretation of the project is so different. So you're saying like the results were always a variety, like an array of things.
yeah, yeah, it was, and yeah, it was, but just fun and amazing to see the process. And
Yeah.
yeah, like I did some projects, some people took in other turn and did more like of a human body, some, or like some skulls, and like I did like a Wendigo or a Snow Queen, but someone else did like a pig, or like
Like different creatures and
other
designs. Yeah.
different creatures, you know. And
I think that's,
even
yeah.
like even photo shoots, like a couple of a couple of my classmates did like frostbite, but I've never done it. So like it gives us a perspective of what we could do too.
Of course, yeah.
Mm.
No, I think that's important what you said. Like going to school for that is kind of teaches you how to deal with different projects and deal with different kind of people, right? Like
Mm.
collaborators and creators, and just and see it as an inspiration, right? Like, were you inspired by a lot of the stuff that you witnessed being created at this school?
Oh yeah, yeah, of
Yeah,
course.
and it pushed you to be better, probably too, right?
Yeah, like sometimes I saw some of my classmates like using some materials that I didn't need to. So
Hmm.
like I haven't touched those, but like I was like, okay, I want to do this in my future project, that because that sounds so fun and it looks so cool too.
Right.
Um, yeah, and there's a bunch of things that I haven't had a chance to do in school too, because it was so intense and condensed. I was in school for 8 months, so it wasn't that long. And like I've, for example, like I've never done like air punching or like silicone prosthetics or even gelatin prosthetics. I'm trying to make some at home right now, and it's
Oh yeah,
not the
silicone,
easiest
and
thing.
yeah, that's insane.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And
So
are there, but what about like professors and things there? Were there anyone that acted as a mentor or an inspiration? Or were they kind of just on the sidelines? It was up to you.
yeah, I felt like I can only speak for myself. But I felt like some were a bit more of on the sideline, and by going back and forth between like online and in class is
Yeah,
not the easiest thing to do. So yeah, I felt like some were more present for us than others, and they were trying to push us more outside of our comfort zone and what we were used to do. Um, but yeah, I can't really like um, say there's one in particular that influenced me. I think they all did in a way, and they
hmm,
all come from different backgrounds. They're all working in the industry, but they all have a different story and a different way to do things. So I learned some things out of every one of them.
nice. Okay,
Yeah.
so that's great. And stepping out of your comfort zone. That's something that a lot of artists need to hear, or if they're smart about it, they'll kind of accept it, allow it instead of resist it. Because I know myself, I've struggled with, for the longest time, being in a comfort zone, comfortable place, and not really pushing myself to expand. Like this podcast, for instance, is, believe it or not, something out of my comfort zone. It's something that I've never done before. To consistently speak with people like yourself and have a conversation and open dialogue. Um, I think it's just so important that you think outside the box as an artist, right? And that goes with
Yeah.
any field, right? Like you're in makeup artistry, but you can challenge and channel, I should say, your creative energy through other venues, right? Through other means other than makeup artistry, right? And
Yeah.
like, how have you, like, what do you intend, what kind of projects do you intend as a makeup artist to work on with this new creativity, this new knowledge you've acquired from school?
Um, I I want to work on projects where I see that people are like telling a story, and like they're telling something that hasn't really been told before. Like they're putting their art and soul into some things, and it shows when they do. So I just want to work with people that are invested in what they do, and that can also um also like not be interested in what I do, but
Right.
appreciate what I do. Because there's a lot of like filmmakers and like first ADs and stuff that are dismissing a lot of like people like makeup artists and hairstylists and stuff, and that's
Yeah.
pretty that that that's not cool, because
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
my job is as important as like someone like a grip or something. It's
Yeah,
like
it is.
we need makeup to tell the story better and to create the whole art. um so like i've I've been hearing a lot of stories lately about people who are just like, yeah, being dismissed, and that's not something that I want to experience
No, you don't
for
want to hear,
myself.
yeah.
So yeah, I just want to work with people that can appreciate what I do and my art, and can
Nice.
understand like, yeah, where it comes from.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
that's really important that you have that self-respect, right? You have to, at
Yeah.
the end of the day, if you don't know your worth, right? If you don't
Yeah.
discover that for yourself, no one else will, right? And that's
Yeah.
something that
Yeah.
we were talking about too, right? Before the podcast, we were diving into the whole idea of, you have to have conviction in yourself that you're going to make it, or you're going to get far, because if you don't, no one else will. It always starts with yourself, right? And
Yeah.
dealing with these filmmakers, I can't speak for a lot of them. I can see, I see that happening, let's be honest, because it's a lot of the independent films, right? They're budget constraints, right?
Yeah. Yeah, no,
They
of course.
don't know, they can't pay you, or they're more, it's more like, uh, they dismiss it like, okay, we don't need a makeup artist. We could just pull it off, just run up and down the treadmill, look like you're sweating. But they don't realize that it's not always the extravagant pieces of makeup that are required. Sometimes it's just the subtle details, right? Like
Yeah.
a project that I'm working on coming up, um, we'll need a cut, a bruise, but we also need like sweat marks, like the clamminess, like of the skin, because the person looks like they've been through a lot of turmoil. So I think it's really important that any filmmaker really does not dismiss anyone on set, and that's so important that you said it, is that the makeup artist is just as important as the grip, and the grip is just as important as the caterer, believe it or not.
Yeah.
The caterer, if you're not feeding your crew, your cast and crew, they will walk off, and they will not give you the best performance, or service possible, right? Like if you're
Yeah. No,
not,
absolutely.
I'm getting a bit like off tangent
Yeah.
here, but I'm just saying, like, because being Italian, if I'm not fed on a set, right? Well, I'm the director. Most of the time, I'm the one, calling the food in. But if I'm not fed and I'm helping out on a set, I'm gonna get cranky, right?
Yeah. No. Yeah. No. It's like everyone on set is important, and everyone has a job to do, and they just need to like to to have a chance to do it properly.
Yeah, they should just, a big thing too is, I want to get into like, the fact that we should respect everyone regardless of their
Yeah.
position, right? Like I know some people, value their job as more important. And while it is important for servicing the story, there's still people there and they want to help you, right? And you should still acknowledge them. You shouldn't dismiss them entirely. And if you do, you should have that conversation, right? Like yourself, like if you experience that, I think the right filmmaker should explain and say, Julianne, we appreciate you, but right now we just don't really see this happening, or we kind of just need you for this segment. Like if you have that dialogue, that conversation, you treat people like people,
Yeah.
they won't get offended. But if you're telling me people are just saying, you know what, I'm not going to even call Julianne back. It's like, what? It's like,
Yeah,
do you want
no.
to, right? You want to have that professionalism.
Yeah, like I want to understand like why if I'm doing something wrong, what it is, I want to be able to improve myself, and
Right.
like to have a reason, like to get a reason behind like for like being dismissed. I
Yeah.
I, I don't want to be like on set and someone's gonna be like, oh, we don't have time for like last looks or checking your makeup between the shots, because sometimes sometimes they don't need it, but most of the time they do. So like if they have plenty of time for relight, why can I have like just 5 minutes to go to the actor and see if everything's good makeup wise?
Yeah. And you want your work to be valued. I can understand like a pain in that. Your work is very visual too. Like it's yourself, like just thrown out there.
Yeah.
Like a director, right? A writer, it's more, obviously it's personal, but it's a different kind, right? Of an experience. But with art, you're kind of just like visual art, right? Because that's what essentially what a makeup artist is.
Yeah.
You're putting yourselves out there, and you also take a lot of time in the moment, right? Writing and directing, you're there, you're present, but there's also a lot of preparation beforehand. With a makeup artist, if you're not valued fully, um, you can't work optimally, right? Like when you're in the moment, when you're there on set. And that's another thing I want to mention too, is when I was speaking to a lot of colleagues, creativity is so delicate. Like there's such a delicate balance to it, and you have so many things that are working against you, and the last thing you want is for your own cast or your crew to work against you, or
Yeah.
throw it off, right? Like an actor, I was talking to an actor, and he was saying, you know, it's my job to show up, to know the lines as best as I can, and to prepare for the role. And if they don't do those things, they make everyone else suffer, right? And why is that? Well, because if you don't know your lines, the person can't bounce your ideas, bounce their lines off of you, and the director has to like reframe the shot, and it affects everyone. But if everyone kind of knows their places, everyone knows like where they fit in, it's a collaborative group effort. And I think that's a lot of filmmakers, if you're listening or if you're aspiring to be one, you're starting off, um, you can't do it alone as much as you want.
No.
You can't. You need everyone to help you out. You need everyone to help you out. And obviously you're going to encounter people you don't want to work with for whatever reason, creative differences, or you just don't like them. They're not easy to work with. But I think it's important that you give it a shot, and if they are there, you consider everybody as a team, as opposed to individual solo artists.
Yeah, no, and that's important to be able to work with kind of everybody too.
Yeah.
Like not be like, okay, I just want to work with like those positions, those people, because like others are not that important, or like not as much important as like the DOP, for example, or something. So yeah, just being in a state of mind where you can um be open to a conversation with
Yeah.
everyone, and being able to understand what everyone does. Yeah.
Open-minded.
Yeah.
Open-minded, right? Yeah. And you know I want to get into the pandemic, right? The elephant in the room. A lot of people have been experiencing it from different points, right? Financially, mentally. I want to know for yourself, like, how have you been keeping creative or keeping sane as an artist? Because I know it's so difficult for myself sometimes. How have you been coping?
um I've been trying to stay busy, honestly,
Yeah.
like not
Nice.
trying to think too much about like
Yeah.
why am I not getting those jobs, or why am I not um doing it as like that kind of stuff. Because
Yeah.
that can get in your head, you know. Like I
Yeah.
I'm seeing some people were in my class and that are working right now. I'm like, I'm not saying to myself like, why am I not working right now? I'm saying like, okay, I'm doing some prosthetics, I'm doing some modes, I'm casting, um, I'm trying to stay busy and to keep up with some work that I might not be able to do in a couple of months because I'm too busy to do it. So yeah, I've been trying to stay ahead and yeah, like collaborate collaborate with friends too and with other artists. Like
Nice.
I'm seeing one of my friends like every week or so to create with her and just like being able to do some like makeup on someone else than myself because I live alone, so it's a bit
No,
hard for
yeah, for
me
sure.
to
Yeah.
like
No, but it's important. You want a subject, right? Just like a director needs an
yeah
actor.
yeah
Yeah.
yeah. So like once a week we like meet up and well socially distance of course, but
Of course, of course.
yeah, we're just like trying to stay creative and
That's good.
practice and
Yeah.
do some things that we did it in school, yes, but like months ago, so I don't remember how to do some kind of things. And like for example yesterday we were practicing some blood work, so with like tubing and like fake on my blood, and like I've never done that before, so we're just trying to make it work. So when we're asked to do it, like we know how it is.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's important, right? Like you're not kind of just laying down and taking the situation, right?
yeah,
You're getting up, you're getting busy. And that's so important what you said too, is you can't, wallow in your pity. You can't really just think like, oh, why is that person getting that job? And, why is my work not like this? It's very tempting. Again, as artists, we compare as much as we don't want to, and social media doesn't help. But it's all how you look at things, right? You got to look at social media as a portfolio and a platform to network, but also to compare for the right reasons, to be inspired and see like, the potential, or where you could be if you put more work into something, or when what you can become. Like a big thing for me is when I look at a filmmaker, like a videographer or a spectacular film, I say to myself, oh, like how do they do that? Like look at my film. But I also like look at their page, I look at their experience, and I'm becoming more self-aware. Like to get to that point, you have to put in the time, and you also have to have that experience, right? The right equipment
yeah,
as well. Although these cameras aren't cheap, right? You have to have the funding, right? So it's like there's all these factors, and to just compare, right, at face value is crazy, is ludicrous. It's not productive, and it paralyzes your creativity.
yeah,
Everybody is so complex. Everybody comes from different places. I come from Toronto, you come from Quebec City. You have different experiences from those cities that you're bringing to Toronto, right?
yeah,
So a makeup artist that compares with you has no chance, because you had a whole different life before you came here. You know what I mean? Like that's how I
yeah,
see it,
yeah, of course.
right?
Yeah, and yeah, we all come from different backgrounds, and like we had some people like in my class have had studied like psychology and things before that, or like studied and all other thing that makeup.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
I have studied like visual arts, so we all bring something different to the table. So, and yeah, just being able to like connect with people that are different than you is
Yeah.
pretty good. Yeah. And
And
we all
challenges you to
have
be a better artist, right? With
yeah,
collaborating with different people.
yeah, we all have a way of coping and trying to stay busy, and we all have different ways also um to try to find work.
Mm.
Like I know some people are like, oh, I'm gonna hire someone to like build me a portfolio, like
Oh
like
yeah?
finding me some work. I'm like, no,
Yeah.
you gotta do it for yourself. No
Yeah,
one's gonna
that
do it for you.
there you go. There you go. And see,
Yeah,
I love that attitude, and that's why we connected, so well, because
yeah,
um I subscribe to that belief, right? Before that illusion where it's like, oh, you have to uh, you know, have the right people, and you have to be in Los Angeles to make your dreams happen, right? But the reality is, like you said, is no, you can start doing a lot right now. It's not going to be
Yeah.
perfect. It's not going to be even beautiful. It might look really rough, but the idea is you're always putting stuff out there. You're always chipping away, right? And then
Yeah.
my biggest belief, or what I've experienced firsthand, I'm sure you can say the same, is when you put your stuff out there and when you actually put a lot of your heart and soul into your work and you create stuff for yourself, that people will gravitate to you. People that you admire, people that are talented, more talented, that can challenge you as better artists will come to you. And that's what I've experienced as a director, right? Like people will come to me now and say, I have this script. Can you help me direct it? Or I have this. Before that, before I was creating anything, short films, podcasts, vlogs, I had nothing. No one really wanted to work with me because no one also, they didn't know who I was,
Yeah.
right? And I wasn't even posting as much as on social media, right? So I don't even know if we would have connected. Um, so it just shows you that you always got to be creating stuff for yourself. You always got to be chipping away. I'm a big believer because I studied marketing at Ryerson, the brand. You know, your brand is everything. And it's not even just your business, it's your name, like Daniel Calderon, right? Julianne Trudel.
Yeah.
It's something that you should always be um, again promoting and crafting and making better every day because people uh, will look to that, especially if you're an artist. You know, like that's
Yeah.
kind of like my aspiration as a filmmaker. It's, you know, 94 Productions is a brand, 94 Collection, my clothing line, but Daniel Calderon is the person behind it. And I want people to be like, I can count on him to give me this quality of work. And I think that's a great attitude for you to have as well, right? Where you were saying you got to create the work for yourself. You know,
Yeah.
you got to just get up and do it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And just like trying to practice as much as we can, even if it's not perfect, just put it out there. And like we see our work differently than other people do.
Of
Like
course.
I see my work and I see all the flaws and what I could have improved. And um yeah, like when I see like one of my cuts or something, like I don't see a cut on someone. I see like the prosthetics, all the work that I did to get there. So yeah, we are very like we're sometimes way too critical of our like
Yeah.
of ourselves, and we have to like sometimes take a step back, take a couple of days, and then see what you did again. And if you don't like it, like you can just not post it. But if you do, or if you think some people will like it, or like that will speak to someone somewhere,
Yeah.
like just put it some like in a portfolio, or like on social media, even if it's not your best work. That's something that shows that you can do more than what's in a portfolio already. So yeah.
Yeah. No, it's you're saying basically put it out there because you never know who's watching and who might
Yeah.
like it. It's all interpretation. You know, something that I post that you like, someone else might not like, and vice
Yeah.
versa. It's all that's the beauty of art. It's can be scary, it can be frightening to a lot of people because they like things structured, but I enjoy that. I live off to the reaction. That was something I was telling you before the podcast. Like I thrive for that. Just knowing that I was in control, like I was responsible for that creation. And when you get it done right, of course, who doesn't want that? Yay, amazing. But at the same time, it's like you have to also accept the good with the bad, right?
Yeah.
You have to accept the
Yeah.
criticism because I've had my fair share of criticism, but it's only made me stronger and it's only made me get to this point, you know? And I think a big thing too, like, you know, for example, this podcast, like my biggest thing is, you know, it's not perfect in the sense like, you know, production value, right? There's people online, they do quick edits, they do intros, all that stuff. But my biggest thing is get it out there, get that conversation out there. People want to hear other people talking, other artists talking, right? If that's something you specialize in. And when I discovered Zoom and I discovered you can record it and you can have this conversation, right, with someone that, you know, you're not that far away from me, but to some people I talk to, like a friend of mine from Atlanta, Georgia, I said, you know, this is perfect. You record the conversation, you post it, and that's what people at the end of the day want to hear. The edits and all that stuff is nice. It's flashy, it's stylistic, but they're bonuses, they're perks. At the end of the
Mm.
day, it's just extra. People want to know what's the content at heart, you know, and that's what I'm saying is I want to get to another point about filmmaking. And I was having this conversation with my friend too from Atlanta. You can have those music videos, right? You can have those videos that, you know, they're flashy and they got the transitions that are really complex. Um, just a great piece of editing. But at the core, at the root of it, what's the story? Like, what's the emotional response you're trying to get from the audience? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
when I create my content, I always want it to tell a story. I always want it, even if it's a 15-second promo, I always try to use the music, and I always try to make everything have a reason, like a purpose. I never put in anything just for the sake of it, because people will say, "Oh, remember in that video where the people do like quick cuts and they do edit, or something swooshes and a scene gets blacked out?" It's like, yeah, but you got to put it.
Yeah.
A big thing when I edit is you got to listen to the editing program. Like, that's God. Editing is God. I
Yeah.
remember they taught me that in my film night courses. So yeah,
And
that's just like my off tangent opinion about filmmaking, and how important it is to stay authentic to your vision.
yeah, and like in art, everything has to have a reason to be there. Like you're not putting something in your films that don't have any meaning, or that
Right.
don't have a reason to be in that film, because that's gonna show and people are gonna be like, okay, you put that there, but that's not speaking to the story. That's not speaking to the entire piece of art. So why bother? It was kind of the same way too when I was doing some paintings in school. So, I had a hard time making the cut between what I wanted to do and what that actually meant. Because I learned that everything has to have a purpose in the work to be able to speak for itself completely, and not have you behind it explaining like, oh, I
Oh yeah.
did like that landscape because it was pretty. Like, no, it doesn't have a meaning. And why did you use those colors, or like why did you use that perspective? um yeah, it's kind of the same with your films, and kind of the same with any art form, really. Like, you're not, if you're making music, you're not putting a beat there because like it's pretty. Like, you have to have like a connection to the piece in its entirety. Yeah, and yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Like,
Yeah, that's
you
very
just have
true.
to have a meeting.
No, that's very true. Don't worry, I get that all the time when I'm talking.
Yeah.
It's just like, what, what's happening? No, that's so true. Regarding what you said, the see, I even forgot what I was saying too. The art needs to not be explained. The art needs to
Yeah.
not be explained, and you have to put it out there. And once you put it out there, I should mention, for any artist, it's not your responsibility anymore. Now the market, the audience will decide if it's good. Like, you can edit it, you can direct it, you can write it, you can tweak it, you can do this. But as soon as it's released, I don't want to hear, "Oh, I should have done this, I should have done that." Of course, you're going to say that. We're human. We have regrets. "Oh, I should have picked this actor, or I should have, switched this shot." But that's only because you're listening to everyone's judgment.
Yeah.
You didn't
And
know that. You know what I mean? Like, when
yeah.
you released it, you didn't know that until you heard everyone's response. And you can't base it off of that.
Yeah, and we gotta learn where to stop too, because
Mm,
as artists, we can always improve something and add some things to our piece, but we gotta learn where to stop and like when it's enough, because
yeah.
too much is not, like, it's no better than not putting enough work. Um, yeah, so just knowing when to stop and when to like learning to be proud of ourselves, even if we're not sure if what we're doing is right.
Well, that's what I
Um,
struggle. Well, that's what I,
yeah,
I I should say I struggle with, and like what you just said about the knowing when enough's enough, like the
yeah,
ability to disconnect. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like, because then you that leads into burnout when you don't want to even look
yeah,
at it anymore, and that's
yeah,
that's
no,
something that I'm guilty of. Like, I'll be, you see my content, I'm always keeping up, trying to be consistent, but I'll take off the mask. Like, I deep down inside have those days where it's like I don't even want to look at it, like the podcast, or I don't even want to look at my films, because I'm just every day just constantly going at it. And I love that because I'm like addicted to the craft. But I know that it's so important to have a balance. I think it's amplified because we're in a pandemic.
yeah,
right? Like, do you feel the same thing where,
Yeah.
because we're closed up, you know, you say you're living on your own, that's all you're thinking about is like, how do I
Yeah.
make this
Like,
art? How do I make it
yeah.
happen? Yeah, right?
Like, what am I gonna do tomorrow?
Yeah,
Like, what am I
exactly.
gonna
Yeah.
post in 2 days?
See, exactly. And it's
Doing the
like,
same thing.
I feel like when life was normal, like obviously we still had our hiccups, we still had our pitfalls, but
Yeah.
it wasn't like, I don't know, life just seemed, you could just go out to coffee with a friend, or, you know, you're looking forward to someone's birthday, you know, but all our plans are kind of on hold, and all we have is our art. Um, and I think that's why we become so obsessed about it, and get sometimes trapped in our own head, because like
Yeah.
you said, you took the words out of my mouth. You know, what am I posting in 2 days, or what am I doing tomorrow? You know, what am I going to do to keep busy other than Netflix?
Yeah. Yeah. Of course. Yeah. Like, I know that for me, like, I don't like not knowing what I'm gonna do tomorrow with my art. I
Same.
like I I like knowing that I have a plan and that I
Hmm.
follow it.
Yeah.
Um.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why it's good. I don't know if you do this, but like I've started jotting down like 5 things I want to do the next day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because it gives you something to look forward to, especially in the morning, right? Like a to-do list, a routine. It's very interesting, you know, the pandemic. I have to say
It
it's brought
is.
right. Like it's just, it's taught us to be, I don't know, it's taught us to be very independent, but it's taught us to always be very proactive, and always be
Yeah.
thinking about, you know, what's next, and how do we improve? How do we do things like that? Because before, um, I don't know if you could say the same, because I don't know if you're in school, but like for me working, I was just nonstop, never thinking about, like I was always thinking about tomorrow, but for the wrong reasons. More like, I got to do this today, tomorrow, but it was
Yeah.
never about like, I could sit myself down and reflect on my art, my thoughts, like what I really want to do with my life and my career. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. When it. Yeah. No. I get what you just said. Yeah. I feel like it it made us take a step back and
Yeah.
look at our lives and like, okay, what am I doing right now? What am I gonna do? Like, is that what I really want to do? Like, and I feel like when it happened for me, I was in school, but I freaked out because
Mm.
I had a show coming up and I had to produce like 3 pieces, and I was like, okay, it was all planned out. I had but all the paints, all like the materials that I needed, and then when it happened, I was like, okay, I don't have a place to create anymore. I don't have like people that's gonna give me a feedback. I don't have anything, so I was like
Right. Right.
a bit lost at first, and like, yeah, um I was just like, what am I gonna do next?
Right.
What am I gonna do with my art? Like, am I gonna change my plans? What I had planned for those pieces? Like, I don't know. And
Yeah.
like, it made me take a step back and focus on what really matters and what I really wanted to stay with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's you said it right there. You know, you identified who you want to be and what you want to
Yeah.
create, and that only came, I feel, for a lot of people, including myself, from the pandemic. Right? It's just the way it is, and that's what I'm saying is a lot of people obviously bash it, condemn it, like the pandemic. Of course they do. Like, people lost their lives, their jobs,
Yeah.
but at the same time, there's another side, like with anything, that were, you know, uplifted by it, where were allowed them to, they benefited from it, because like you said, they figured out who they were, they figured out what they want to do, and even if you are still struggling, it still allowed them, because it's not necessarily starting a business, or, you know, knowing exactly what you want to do in life, be a filmmaker or a makeup artist, also as a person, like mentally, like your mental health, right? It
Yeah.
allowed people to take the time for themselves, like self-care, and figure out, hey, like, what do I want to, taking, just giving them that time, that permission to take care of themselves each day, right? Because before it
Yeah.
was like a rat race, like on the go all the time. And I think, you know, in a way, a lot of people need to look at it from a positive side, like, hey, the pandemic, you know, allowed me to become a better person, you know, allowed me to have better relationships, whether it was with my mom or my friends, right? Like, it allowed me to become a stronger individual, you know, handle things differently. So yeah, that's really cool. I'm glad you took a positive out of the pandemic. I know it's not easy. Again, like you said, you live on your own and during a time when everyone's told to stay at home. So it's even worse,
Yeah.
right? With Toronto, right? That's why I asked first thing. I'm like, hey, how's Toronto doing? Because I've lived here all my life, like Toronto, and it's a busy city. It's constantly booming, and the fact that everything's boarded up and closed, it's surreal. It doesn't make any sense to anyone, but that's the reality now, right? And we can just pray and look forward to when things get better, and they're going to get better very soon. So I'm excited, so we can all get back out there and create.
Yeah, me too. And like I was really seeing the city like active and like come to life. Like the pre-pandemic
Because you
and
came,
stuff.
yeah,
Like
because you came in
yeah,
July, but
yeah,
you
in
also,
July.
yeah,
So
but you also were telling me before the podcast, you witnessed like a glimpse of it because you came around when the Raptors won in
yeah.
2019.
Yeah.
So, but that was like on steroids. That was extreme. Yeah,
That was
yeah, yeah.
extreme.
That was extreme. Like I was telling you, there's like 3 million people there, and population of Toronto is only
Yeah.
2 million. So you can only imagine, right? But yeah, it was a great time for the city and a great memory. And yeah, we'll have more of those, in the future, right? We just have to be optimistic and positive, like you were telling me, right?
Yeah.
You just gotta keep going every day, especially in the arts. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And just trying to focus on the positive and trying to like, yeah, just create, stay busy and like connect with people and trying also to socialize because I'm the first one guilty of staying in my apartment for 2 days straight and like
Right.
not going out.
Yeah.
But like I know I need to like go out sometimes and see people and like just talking to new people, new persons like you. Like
Yeah, for
uh,
sure.
yeah,
Getting to know people. Yeah, just getting to know
yeah,
people, connecting, seeing what they're all about. And again, it's always very exciting to see someone in the same field because you can relate and you can kind of see, am I thinking too much? Should I be thinking less, right? Um, with regards to like the arts, like I said, right? Because we're all going through the same thing. And, you've given me some pointers, I've given you some pointers, and, we kind of helped each other through that. Like just remind ourselves, you're not alone,
yeah,
right? There's a lot of people out
yeah,
there that are in the arts that are going through the same things. So I think
yeah,
that's really cool, Julianne. And I want to thank you again for coming on the podcast. Means a lot, hearing about your journey. I think it's so important. I always tell people to talk about what goes on, the challenges we experience, because I know there's creatives listening, and if it can help them brighten their day, all the power, right? And
yeah.
the fact that you did makeup artistry and design, I think it's such an important asset to have on set, and filmmakers should not dismiss it
No.
because such beautiful films are made to this day because of those talents. And it's all about finding the right role for you, right? Like
Yeah.
someone that can appreciate you on the set, like for their story. So I think you'll find success that way. And yeah,
Well,
thank you
thank
again for coming
you.
on the podcast. Yeah. Uh,
Thanks for having me.
yeah, of course. Yeah, anytime. I'm looking forward to having you back because we want to, document the
Yeah.
journey. And I think it's so important, like I said, to just tell people about who you are, your brand, and things you're working on, projects you want to promote. And yeah, we'll go from there. Okay.
Good.
All right. So thank you again,
Yeah.
Julianne Trudel. Thank you again, everybody, for listening, and we'll talk soon.